So the presentation that we have today is called Foods That Fight the Flu and COVID-2, and it's presented well, the source includes pandemic influenza and other viral diseases, and this is an ounce of prevention by Dr. John Glenn Clark. He's a friend of mine, and he's a preventive medical doctor. He traditionally trained as an orthopedic surgeon, but he transitioned into preventive care many years ago. And so he does a lot of heavily researched articles on different types of health issues. And normally you can find about 300 references in each of his presentations. So you can find this online, and you can just look up Northern Lights Health Education. That is where he has most of his presentations. So this presentation is derived from that, and I've added a few things in as a dietitian as well. So the first question we want to ask ourselves is, why do we get sick? Now turn your mics on, both of you, because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. This is a participating class. So why do you think we get sick?
Immune system down, or
That's right.
yeah, its immune system is low.
You're exactly right. And so we get sick because our immune system is weakened, just like you said. So we can't fight off some of these bugs that we're inhaling and taking in. Our natural killer cells can't do their work, and so then we become sick. And so what we want to do is reverse that and be able to strengthen the immune system.
Hold on, Roberta. Erica, did your video feed stop at any moment?
No, mine's still going.
Okay.
Yours did for a minute, Natalie.
Okay, so I froze. It was me. Okay. All right. Very good. Carry on.
So the next question is, what can weaken our immune system? What can put us in the position where our immune system is not working properly?
Other diseases.
That's right. Yeah. Can you think of anything else?
Weaken our immune system. Huh. I guess, well, I don't know, like if you are alcoholic or all of those things and not
Exactly.
eating properly.
Yep, you're on the right track. So yeah, if we're not eating right, if we never exercise, because we know that exercise can improve the immune system, dehydration is big. If we're not drinking enough water, then that can impair our immune system as well. If we never go out in the sun, if we never get some fresh air, if we're not sleeping properly, and if we're stressed out, all of these things can weaken our immune system. And how many of these things do you think a lot of Americans experience?
All of them.
Quite a few, right? Yeah. So it kind of gives us a hint about, what we need to do on top of food. We're going to focus on food today, but on top of food, the other things are very important as well. So here's a study that was done on sugar. And what they did is they took some participants and they drew their blood every few hours, and they put their blood in a petri dish, and they put some bacteria, I think it's Staphylococcus, Staphylococcus in the petri dish, and then they put sugar in there. And if the person didn't have any sugar in the past 12 hours, one of their white blood cells was able to destroy 14 bacteria. But then they gave the person 6 teaspoons of sugar, and look what happened. One white blood cell was only able to kill 10 bacteria. With 12 teaspoons of sugar, it was only 5.5 bacteria. And with 24 teaspoons of sugar, one white blood cell was only able to kill 1 bacteria. And so we may think, well, 24 teaspoons of sugar is a lot. I would never have that much. But if we just had something like a candy bar and a Coke, that's 24 teaspoons of sugar. And how many teaspoons does the typical American eat every day and drink?
Wow.
52. That's a lot. And, I see a lot of patients that are newly diagnosed with diabetes, and one of the things that I see so much is that they drink a lot of sodas, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you can really add up your sugar. So not only is it kind of detrimental to our body as far as diabetes development, but look at what it does to our immune system. You know, if we're eating that much sugar every day and our white blood cells are not able to recognize these or kill off these bacteria or viruses, that definitely decreases our immune system. So, any comments about that?
Is that the same for like stevia and those types of
No,
substitutes?
no, not as
No.
far as we've seen. So far, it's
Okay.
only been with the sugar, so that's a
With
good
the
thing,
sugar.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I do recommend if someone wants to use a sugar substitute, I do recommend stevia
Uh-huh.
because it's a natural substance. You know, it's an herb, and you know you can grow it yourself in your backyard, and you can just dehydrate it and put it in a food processor, and or you can put it in the blender when it's fresh and put a little water in there and blend it up and strain it, and you've got your own sweetener that you don't have to buy.
I didn't know that. So where is that? Where's the stevia
The
leaf
plants.
plant? Yeah.
Yeah, I know in the past you could get the little seedlings at Lowe's, but
Okay.
you can order the seeds online if you can't find them at
Huh.
Lowe's.
Okay.
Yeah, and then once you have a plant, you just got it forever, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Huh.
So that was a sugar study. And then in other studies, they've looked at the effect of fat and cholesterol on the immune system. And the typical American fat take, this has a 50% reduction in the natural killer cell activity. High fat diet up to 79% less function of the immune system. A low fat diet, immune system stays just fine. And then a high cholesterol diet is a 75% reduction. So, in light of this, how healthy do you think a keto diet is?
Keto diet.
Keto diet just mainly meats and fats and like
Fats.
bacon and cheese and steak.
Oh, the good stuff, huh? Ah,
Yeah.
that's wow.
Yeah, so it definitely wouldn't be as good for the immune system as something that was lower fat. I mean, we don't have to take fat and cholesterol totally out of our diet by no means, but we typically have too much of it in our diet, and it definitely affects the immune system.
Uh-huh.
And then the study is quoted right there. All right.
Huh.
So too much protein. Diets with 25% or greater protein can decrease the natural killer cell function. And diets with lower protein and diets that excluded cow's milk, they improve the natural killer cell function. So again, you know, if we're going to have protein, it's good to have a balance of if we're eating animal, a little bit of animal, but also to add some plant protein in, and that would be things like our beans and our nuts and our seeds, or maybe soy products if you like that, edamame or tofu or veggie burgers. So we could
Hmm.
get our protein that way. And if we don't having too much, again, a balanced diet, then our natural killer cell function will remain strong.
Mm.
All right, so let's talk about the foods that have the different vitamins and nutrients that will help improve our immune system. So when we don't get enough vitamin A, then this can reduce our natural killer cell numbers and function. So we could also reduce our IgA, and that IgA is critical for removing the flu virus from the lungs. So we breathe in that flu virus, and if we've got plenty of IgA, then that in our lungs can actually keep that flu virus from causing the main, you know, the big lung problems that people have when they get the flu. So if we know that vitamin A is important, do you think that the best source of vitamin A would be pills?
No, natural food, your foods.
That's right. That's right. In fact, they did a study, I think it was in Sweden. I was just telling my daughter about this. They took two groups of smokers and they decided to give them beta carotene because, you know, vitamin A is so good for the immune system. So they took the beta carotene out of the vitamin A and gave it to the smokers. One group they gave the beta carotene to, and the other group of smokers they didn't. And they had to stop the study early because the smokers that were taking the beta carotene had more lung cancer than the smokers that didn't have the beta carotene. And they thought, how could this happen? And we know that vitamin A is so good. So basically they decided that when you take one element out of a food or out of a nutrient, just one element out of it, and you don't give them the whole thing, then you could actually reverse and do
Mm.
the opposite of what you actually want to accomplish.
Oh, wow.
So it is better to have the foods that are high in vitamin A. So what foods are those? Do you know?
Carrots.
That's right. The yellows, right? The yellows
Yep.
and the oranges. Do you like sweet potatoes?
I do. And I see people do like the sweet potato fries. I can't. The sweet potatoes is like a dessert to me because it's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah, sweet potatoes.
they're delicious, and you can put them in the air fryer, and it's just as flavorful as if you fried them. So the other oranges, which would be your carrots and your winter squash and your cantaloupe, but also some of your dark green and leafy vegetables are also high in vitamin A, like your broccoli and your kale and your spinach. Also, cayenne and paprika, those are great to have on hand. If you have cayenne pepper, that can actually help to stop a heart attack because it
Oh.
opens the blood vessels if somebody's having some constriction of the blood vessels, or a stroke. So if you have cayenne, you can just put it on somebody's tongue that's having some chest pain, and that
Mm,
in a lot of cases will help somebody. Okay,
mm,
can mix it with a
okay.
little bit of oil and put a few drops on their tongue. So those are vitamin A rich foods, and that's important to have those. Next is our vitamin E. And this actually helps to take some of the flu viral particles out of the lungs. It removes them. And it helps preserve our appetite because, when we have the flu or sometimes COVID, we don't really feel like eating. And so this helps with our appetite. And it can actually lower the damaging inflammation in the lungs. So when we have a flu virus or a COVID virus attack the lungs develop this inflammation. Trying to think of the term they use. I'll think of it in a minute, but it's the lungs have this inflammatory response, cytokine storm. That's what it is. So the lungs have the cytokine storm, and the inflammation goes up in the lungs, and sometimes it could be very serious because the lungs might start accumulating some fluid, and then the person gets into trouble. So vitamin E helps to reduce that inflammation in the lungs that's caused by the flu or COVID. It reduces that cytokine storm. So what
Mm.
foods are high in vitamin E?
Aren't some nuts?
Yeah, I gave you some hints in the picture, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, nuts and seeds. Do you like nuts and seeds?
Yes.
What are your favorites?
Pecans, sunflower seeds. I do pumpkin seeds. I've done pumpkin seeds.
Good.
Um, I like nuts. Like anytime I have like a cookie or something, I want like some nuts in it.
Good, good. Yeah, and they're one of the best things for our heart too. And it's good to have different types of nuts because each type of nut it is beneficial in a different way. Some nuts are a little bit higher in HDL or they're
Hmm.
HDL increasing, some are LDL lowering. Which nut do you think is best for the brain health? Actually looks like a brain.
Um, your walnuts.
That's right. That's right. So walnuts have omega-3, which actually help to protect the brain,
Huh.
slow down that
Okay.
dementia and Alzheimer's, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
those are our vitamin E foods. I'm glad that you like the nuts and seeds. That's great. You can take different combinations of nuts and seeds if you have a food processor, especially if you can run it slowly. You can
Hmm.
throw whatever nuts and seeds you like in there, maybe a little bit of honey, a little pinch of salt, and you can just run it on low for about 45 minutes and it makes a beautiful nut and seed butter. So you can do just different combinations of those.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next is our vitamin C. And this actually, we have little Pac-Men. in our bodies that actually eat up the little flu viruses or the bacteria. And so when we have plenty of vitamin C, we have more Pac-Men that go around and eat up the flu viruses in the lungs. If we take vitamin C, Linus Pauling did a lot of studies on vitamin C, and he took up to, I think, 25,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, something that I wouldn't do. But before hearing about Pauling studies, I would take maybe 500 milligrams if I felt like I was coming down with a cold, and I'd still get the cold. And I thought, why is that? So after I learned about his studies, I started upping it to about 4 to 6,000 milligrams a day, kind of spread out through the day. And I had much less symptoms of cold and flu by taking that much vitamin C.
Mm.
So one of the best sources of vitamin C is our lemons. And if you squeeze a juice of a fresh lemon into half a glass of water in the morning, there's not 500 milligrams of vitamin C in the lemon, but there's about 80 or 90. But the other things in the lemon, like we were talking about using the whole food, there's
Mhm.
other things in the lemon that would give us an equivalent of 500 milligrams of vitamin C activity. Okay, so if you juice a fresh lemon in the morning or put a little bit of lemon juice in your water in the morning, that not only helps our immune system, but it's great for our metabolism and our skin as well. Okay,
Mm. Okay.
so aside from lemons, what foods do you think are high in vitamin C?
Oranges. Um, what else is vitamin C? Um,
There's a
I
lot
don't know.
to go get.
Yeah.
If you like all of those,
Um,
strawberries and peppers and all the
yep.
citruses, the oranges, the lemons, the grapefruit, but it's also in
Yeah.
tomatoes and potatoes and also some of our dark green veggies like our broccoli. Now, this was a test on a registered dietitian exam, gave all of these foods, and it says which one is the highest in vitamin C per ounce of weight. You think you can guess?
Highest in vitamin C per ounce of weight. Um, I don't know. Is it bell peppers?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, because that was odd. It's got to be. Yeah,
Yep,
that's
yep.
interesting.
Highest in vitamin C. So make sure to get plenty of these. And like I said, if you put that juice of a lemon into some water every morning, your body will thank you. It also reduces the pH in our body. So an
Mm.
more alkaline blood level of pH,
Mm-hmm.
actually helps us to fight off cancer. So
Mm.
that's important. Vitamin D. So vitamin D is a natural product of sunlight's effect on the skin. So the sun hits our skin and it makes vitamin D. But can you take a guess as to what does the body use to make the vitamin D? We have to have something to make it, right? So what does the body use to make vitamin D? It's something that you might not have thought about. I'm asking because you might have heard.
No, calcium.
That's a great guess. It's actually cholesterol. So when we
Really? Okay.
so when we go out in the sun, then the sun hits our skin, the body makes vitamin D out of the cholesterol. What happens to the vitamin D level? Goes up. What happens to the cholesterol level? It comes down.
Oh wow.
And the amount of sunlight that we need varies depending on our skin color. So the lightest person's skin, they would only
Mm-hmm.
need about 10 or 15 minutes a day, like in the 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. kind of range of time. And a person with the darkest skin would probably need 45 minutes. And then everybody else's skin tone would be somewhere between 10 minutes and about 45 minutes.
Oh
So
wow.
it just depends. But whenever you feel like your skin is starting to get hot and, like it might be overexposed, it's time to go in.
Mhm.
But it's important, to have the sunlight. not just for the vitamin D, but there's a lot of other good immune functions that vitamin D does. So I've seen this personally. This says high vitamin D levels are associated with 2/3 fewer COVID-19 infections, half as many cases that progressed to become severe, and 1/3 the death rate. And when I was working in the hospital, I found that almost everyone that had the most severe cases of COVID-19, their vitamin D levels were way too low. Now, your lab will tell you that a vitamin D level of 30 is okay, but it
Mm-hmm.
really needs to be a lot of the preventive medicine doctors all agree that it should be greater than 50. So make it a
Mm-hmm.
point to ask your doctor to check your vitamin D level. I would ask for twice a year, once
Mm-hmm.
going into the summer because we don't get as much sunlight in the winter. So maybe a little bit lower going into the summer, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then once going into the winter because we may have better levels if we've been outside at all. And
Okay.
if the vitamin D level is less than 50, especially going into the winter when our immune system needs to be as strong as possible, then you can go ahead and ask your doctor about taking some supplements of vitamin D3 in order to, boost that immune system so you don't get sick as easily from COVID or the flu.
Yeah, that's what I have to take vitamin D3.
Good, good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. But make sure you keep, have your levels checked because some people take D3 and they're not quite sure. Is this really helping? Is this enough?
Mm-hmm.
Some people might have to take up to 10,000 units a day in order to get it up to a good level. And then they maybe can come down to, 2 to 6,000 a day. And some people are
Mm-hmm.
already there, so they might not need to take, higher amounts. So always make
Right.
sure that you get it checked twice a year and just
Okay.
adjust your supplementation with that.
Okay.
If you do want vitamin D from foods, then you can find it in fatty fish, eggs, some mushrooms. It is in fortified foods like our milk and some of the cereals have it, and then our
Mm-hmm.
supplements. There's not a lot of foods that are high in vitamin D. Our best sources would be those foods if you wanted to eat them, the sun, and then supplementation. So, any
Mm-hmm.
question about that?
Mm-mm.
All right, folate. We may have all heard about folate being important if you want to get pregnant because it helps to keep the baby healthy. But if we don't have enough folate in our diet, then that lowers our natural killer cell activity, and we can find folate in almost any plant-based food. These that are listed here are some of the highest, but our dark green leafies, our beans, our wheat germ, our oatmeal, our nuts and seeds, almost any vegetable and a lot of fruits are plentiful in folate. So, how many
Mm-hmm.
veggies and fruits do you eat in a day? Servings.
3 to 4, it depends.
That's wonderful. A
Some
lot of
days are
people.
good and
Yeah,
some
yeah,
days you
yeah.
don't. Yeah.
That's really good. I mean, typical American eats one vegetable a day, and that's the ketchup on their French fries at McDonald's. So that's
No.
great. That's great. You're doing a great job. So you're getting a lot of folate. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Selenium is important because that can increase natural killer cell activity by, look at that, 70%. And it helps our lung tissue to recover from the flu, recover from that cytokine storm. One of the best ways and most delicious ways to get selenium is Brazil nuts. Do you like those?
Not particular, but I might need to give that a try.
Yeah. And all we need is about 2 to 3 a day. I usually have 4, just make sure I get enough. But not
Uh-huh.
only does selenium help with our natural killer cell activity, it's extremely important in our thyroid function. And
Oh.
so as we get older and as we go into menopause, the thyroid may slow down and maybe the iodine levels might slow down. And so selenium is extremely important to keep a healthy thyroid. So that's your insurance policy if you want to do, 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day.
Okay.
That's some of the highest levels, but you can also get it in some of the other nuts and seeds too. Don't have to take a supplement for that.
Okay.
Quercetin is something that we really didn't hear a lot about until COVID. And then when COVID started coming around, we started hearing a lot about quercetin. And it's important because it's a very powerful lung protector. It'll go through the lungs and it'll find any little viral particles or um, anything that might irritate the lungs, and it helps to get rid of them out of the lungs. So it's extremely important. One of the best sources of quercetin is found in, and the first one is a what a day keeps the doctor away?
An apple.
An apple, that's right, especially the apple skins. So if you eat an apple every day in the winter, then that will protect your lungs against COVID and flu. And then onions, garlic, green leafies, and beans. Quercetin is in all of
Mm,
those things.
okay.
Next is zinc, and we heard a whole lot more about zinc during COVID as well. This really boosts our killer cell function and the number of the killer cells that we have. And so we can find zinc. It's not as widely found in foods, kind of like quercetin, but we can
Mm,
find it in some of these things, these pumpkin seeds that you mentioned earlier, maple sugar, and I'm assuming maple syrup. I didn't look into that.
mhm,
Cashews are high in zinc. And again, cashews, if you want to make cashew milk or cashew cream, you can
mhm,
use that as a replacement. Like if you want a nice creamy base for Alfredo sauce or a dressing or something like that, you can use cashews if you have a high-speed blender. You can throw some
mhm.
cashews in there with some water, and it makes a wonderful creamy base for a ranch dressing or some other kind of cream-based things. And it has a lot of zinc in it too.
Okay.
Zinc is important. I actually take a zinc supplement because I don't think I eat enough of these things in order
Mhm,
to get what I need, especially during flu and COVID season.
mhm,
Copper, it's also important for killer cell function and immune function. And zinc and copper kind of balance one another. So if you're taking zinc, it's a good idea to take a little copper as well. And just like zinc, it's not found in a lot of different foods, but mostly our seeds, our nuts, our sunflower seeds, not pennies. We don't eat any pennies, right? And then spirulina. This is like a sea vegetable. And I take some of this, but it's in a compressed form, like a pill, because
uh-huh.
I do not relish the thought of eating seaweed. No, 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 no. But it's okay in a pressed down pill. So copper's important too. Magnesium is extremely important for reducing lung inflammation and pneumonia due to the flu. It's also extremely important for our muscle function, our heart function. A lot of patients in cardiac rehab, they make sure to give them plenty of magnesium. It's relaxing when we take it in. We usually have regular and normal bowel movements, so it's an extremely good element for us. Um, you can take Epsom salt baths. That's magnesium sulfate. You can take some supplements of the magnesium. Magnesium glycinate is one of the best types of magnesium to take, but you can also find it in a lot of our fruits and nuts and vegetables and beans as well. So it's very plentiful. It's just that some people still, if they're a little constipated or if their muscles get cramps in them, a lot of times it's a magnesium deficiency. So a lot of people will take maybe 400 milligrams of magnesium a day. Just check with your doctor to make sure that, you're taking what you need.
What is the difference between the glycinate, the citrate, and it was like,
It's the availability.
okay.
Carbonate is one of the hardest to absorb, and it just ends up going through us. The glycinate is very well absorbed. The citrate
Mhm,
is much better than the carbonate. So that's what I used to take until I found glycinate. There
uh-huh,
is a supplement out there that has all different forms of magnesium. I think it has citrate, glycinate, and then there's another one that attaches to protein, and it's very well absorbed as well. But
mhm,
you can overdo it on the magnesium too. So for the most
mhm,
part, people usually take about 400 milligrams of magnesium citrate or glycinate. usually they start seeing better results. Or if you take an Epsom salts bath, you can put like a cup of Epsom salt into your bathtub and make sure you stay there for about 20-30 minutes, and your body does a good job of absorbing the magnesium through your skin.
Okay.
And it feels good. It's relaxing too. Good question. Turmeric. This is what makes mustard taste like mustard. And this is kind of new on the scene as far as its importance in reducing inflammation. So we can take supplements of turmeric. We could also use it in our cooking. Indian foods use a lot of turmeric. So they use a lot in India. And it also helps to prevent lung damage with the flu. It does have vitamin C in it. And do you use turmeric in your cooking at all?
I do. And then I see people say you got to add some black pepper
Yeah. Yeah.
with it to activate it. But yeah, I'll get up in the morning sometimes, especially when it's cold, and do some hot water, apple cider vinegar. I want to ask you about that, but apple cider vinegar with a little turmeric and cinnamon in it, and I'll drink that. But what are your thoughts on, like, of course, apple cider vinegar?
Well, apple cider vinegar is acetic acid, and they
Uh-huh.
actually use that to cause inflammation in rats when they do studies. So it's much better to use the lemon juice because that's citric acid, which has the
Okay.
same benefits of the acetic acid, but it doesn't cause the inflammation that the acetic acid does. And
Okay.
and you're right, I've seen a lot of those drinks that contain turmeric. Some of them even have like a coconut oil or
Mm-hmm.
coconut cream in them, along with turmeric and the piperine or the black pepper.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do they put in there? There's one out there by Paleo Valley. They keep putting advertisements on my YouTube feed. But it sounds really good. Oh, cinnamon. They put cinnamon in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you do. So that's great. Have you noticed a difference in the way you feel since you started using the turmeric drink?
Yeah, you can tell a difference. You can
Wonderful.
definitely tell a difference.
That's wonderful. Okay, good. And it's good just in any kind of Indian dish. Trying to think of how I've used it. Maybe in some beans, I've used it a couple times. I've used it if I make like macaroni salad or potato salad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, oh, it's good. All right. So the important vegetables would be garlic, onions, carrots, kale, spinach, and broccoli, the greens, and the
Mm-hmm.
yellows and the oranges. The fruits, apples, especially with the skins, strawberries, grapes, and citrus. And then our nuts, our beans, our seeds, our soybeans, our wheat germ, and our turmeric. So you don't have to have them all every day, but it's great to have a good variety and at least have a few servings each day of these things. Water is important, again, which we mentioned before. And so we need to drink half our weight, half of our ideal weight in water. So just take your weight, divide it in half. So let's say you have a 150-pound person, they would need 75 ounces of water a day, and then 8 ounces of water for each 25 pounds over the ideal weight. And then you want to take that water and divide it into 4 servings if you can. And you can sip through the day however you like, but it's good to take 25% of that water and have it when you first wake up. Better if you put that lemon juice in there. And
Mm-hmm.
then you take a fourth of it and have it about an hour after each meal. Because when we eat, our body takes that fluid and starts pulling it into the stomach and intestines in order to do the process of digestion. So it dehydrates us a little bit. And if we replenish some of that water about an hour after each meal, that, will help with our other body functions as well as the fluid that goes into our digestive tract. Okay. And then you want to take a cool bath or shower before going out in hot weather. Or you can take hot and cold contrast showers. And this is how you do it. And depends on your heart health. So you might want to talk to your doctor about it. So you get in the shower and you turn it on as hot as you can stand it. And you just let your body temperature rise until it gets so hot you're thinking, I got to get out of here, right? And then you
Uh-huh.
turn it on as cold as you can stand it for 30 seconds. And you dance around the shower, woo, you know, and then you do the same thing. Just turn it back to hot, and then 30 seconds of cold, third time hot, third time 30 seconds of cold. You end on cold and you briskly towel yourself off and you throw on some sweats and you jump in the bed because it's going to take some energy out of you when it does
Mm.
this. But this triples our white blood cell count, triples it.
Oh.
So it actually is very potent in raising our immune system. So if you can't take the extreme hot or the extreme cold, even if you do warm and cool, that contrast will still increase your white blood cell count. The other thing that it does is that it helps reduce depression. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So it can help us with depression. So we need water inside of our body. We can need water, take baths and showers, and we can use it to help our immune system. Or you could take a nice warm bath with the magnesium. Okay.
Mm.
So this is my own personal recipe. I call it the
Mhm.
flu bomb. And so you need a high-speed blender for this. And so I go to 14 karat and I usually get a whole organic grapefruit, a whole orange, 2 whole organic lemons, organic onion, organic garlic, organic ginger, organic turmeric, local raw honey, cayenne pepper. I like pineapple juice. Some of the recipes call for water, but I love
Mhm.
pineapple juice because it tastes good. And it also kind of cuts the concentration of some of the other things in there. And
Mhm.
pineapple juice has bromelain, which can reduce the phlegm. It can cut the phlegm that might be in our throat and in our chest. And so this recipe fills up my Vitamix blender cup thing pitcher twice. So I had to divide it in half. But I'll cut
Mm.
everything up and I'll put half of it in the blender, a little bit of pineapple juice and water, blend it up.
Mhm.
And then once it's blended, I pour it into ice cube trays and I freeze it. And then once they're frozen, I put them in a Ziploc bag and I have them in the freezer. So that way, if I'm feeling bad, I don't have to get everything out and blend it all up. I can just pull out a few of those cubes and you can just either defrost them and drink them down. You can eat them if you like to eat icy things, or you can just reblend them with a little bit of pineapple juice. But all of these elements were actually scientifically looked at with COVID to help with COVID symptoms. And they've even been used in the past by preventive medicine doctors and in lifestyle centers in order to help treat the flu too. So it was originally called the flu bomb. Some people call it Russian penicillin. It's just called different things. But all of these things are extremely beneficial in helping the immune system to fight off the flu or COVID.
Okay.
And did you want to take a screenshot of that?
I got it already.
You got it. I think Natalie's going to post this on the website, the
Okay.
Facebook page too.
Yeah, I did a screenshot of it too. I'm gonna post it out on the in the Facebook group.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then also important, the sunshine for the vitamin D, which we talked about, fresh air and exercise, extremely important. We could do a whole separate talk on that. In fact, I'm working on a talk right now about HIIT exercise, the high intensity interval training. So that's extremely important for the immune system too. So any
Mm.
questions?
No, this was good.
It was helpful
Very
for you?
informative. Oh yeah.
All
Oh
right, good
yeah.
one. I'm glad you could join us.
I almost forgotten that my um thing dinged. I was like, oh, let me get on this. But
Well,
yeah,
good. I'm glad you're able to come. And it was nice to
Yes.
meet you.
same here. It's a lot of good information.
All right.
Well,
Well, thank you, Natalie, for the
all right.
opportunity.
Thank you again, Roberta. That was a lot of good information. I learned new things today, especially
Well,
about the
Hmm.
good.
stevia plant, how to do your own, and some of the information, especially with that hot and cold shower thing. Not sure I'm going to try that, but that was good information. And even the Epsom salt when you're soaking in that, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that you're absorbing those minerals in your body. So
That's right.
Hmm.
Yeah,
lots of good
I do
info
more
today.
of the warm and cool. I don't really do. I can stand it pretty hot, but I don't I don't do it ice cold.
Yeah, so that's the part that will get me.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, take care. And I guess once it's posted on Facebook, Erica, if you have any questions, just go ahead and post them and we'll try to answer them. Okay.
Sure. All right.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
ladies.
All
you.
right. Take
Thank you.
care. All
You
Have
right.
a
Bye
good
too.
evening.
now.